I'm going to show you what a 15-year-old car that has spent its whole life in Vermont looks like. This is a 2004 Subaru Impreza WRX STi model. It's got 100,806 miles on it. Just taken off the road because it's too rusty to pass inspection. This wasn't my car. I bought it from someone strictly just to pull apart. He didn't have any use for it. Right now it's pretty much just worth what it's worth in parts. See, I've got everything pulled from it. I'm going to go over the body real quick. This is the motor. You can see some of the stuff's rusty, the coolant overflow reservoir. The lower subframe's all rusty. The exhaust is all broken and rusty. The cross member is pretty much junk, but I have it still attached to the motor just because it stays balanced on that tire pretty well. Here's the wheel well area. A lot of the salt and dirt gets stuck in the rocker panels that cover that, and it rusts the rockers out. Started to go up the inside of the door jamb to the hinge. Go around to the front. There's the front crash beam, all rusted, the lower radiator support. This car's never been in an accident. It's a clean title. Actually one owner car. Go up into the engine bay area. You can see the lower cross members all rotten out. Holes in it. Even the upper part of the engine bay is actually starting to get some rust around all the spot welds. There's a hole right there. Here's the driver's side. Got some nice rot going there. This is actually part of the fender. It broke off when I removed the fender. We also got the rust going along this side. Usually the driver's side is a little worse just because it meets all the traffic going on the way. Here's underneath. Some nice rust in the tunnel. There's the fuel tank. It's supposed to be a metal cover over it, but it's rusted away. A lot of it's fallen off. You can actually see one of the straps is rusted apart and it got bent back and it twisted around the axle. The guy kept driving it. It must have been rubbing a little bit. I think you can see right there. This cross member's completely rotten. Even the bolts to like remove it. Get a better look at that. That's what that brine and salt does. These bolts, you'll never get that off. If you can even get a socket on there, it's just gonna round it. I had to grind a lot of stuff off or use a sawzall to cut it. It's got some rust where the bumper attaches. Here's the back side of that cross member. Here's up underneath the rear bumper. It had an evap code. The evap code was because of this canister, it rusted and broken off. Here's a look at the back side. This is the rear crash bumper beam. This was a bracket that helped hold the bumper on that broke off when I pulled the bumper. This was a really nice car. In its day, I used to have a 2005 with 9,000 miles on it. They're probably one of the most fun cars to drive. They pull really hard, they corner well, they handle great. Just they don't really last if you drive them in Vermont winters just because of what they put on the roads. Take one more quick look at it. This is the rear diff. That's usable. It can probably be cleaned up with a sandblaster or a wire wheel. Transmission's still good. It shifts great actually. Some of the linkage would need to be cleaned up. Drive shaft. I'm going to throw that in there for scrap. That's not worth saving. These are the front axles. This is the catalytic converter. All the heat shields were rusted off. Pretty much had to use the pry bar and sawzall to get it off. But there you have it, 2004 Subaru Impreza WRX STi, 100,000 miles on it. Driven winters in Vermont. 15 years later, I get to take it off the road. It's too bad we weren't like Washington where they don't salt the roads. A lot of the cars out there are really clean despite some of the harsh winters. So what I do in Vermont is I drive a Volvo XC70. It's a 2004 wagon. I don't know what Volvo does on the undersides, but those cars do not rust out. So I don't drive anything nice in the winter. I just beat around in that. And I've been driving it for about 8 or 9 years now, through every winter. 2 sets of snow tires and 216,000 miles on it, still going strong.